we are now going to move on to some creators in women's sports. We have Lacey and Lucy and Logan, all of the L's. Look at us here. It is so nice to have you. Do you want to start off? We could start off with Lucy. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Lucy Rohden. I am a sports content creator. I guess I've been doing it for a few years now. I live in LA. I work for a sports book right now, and I went to the University of Iowa. Super proud of that, despite what they make me go through. And yeah, I just like to make videos and make people laugh. It's kind of my thing.
I love that. Your videos are so incredibly funny, especially all the Iowa ones and during March Madness. I was with you during March Madness. That was tragic.
Thanks for bringing that up. Really, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
So moving on. Lacey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Lacey Brown, as y'all can obviously see, but so I am a sports content creator. I think with my content, I first started off creating content that's more of the pop culture. It's basically everything surrounding sports that isn't actually the gameplay. That was my first introduction into sports, working in that world. I was a former athlete, actually, before I started doing that, and then I transitioned into that type of content. And now I've kind of transitioned into doing challenges, kind of showing women that, hey, you don't necessarily need anyone to be able to do a challenge by yourself. Like, you can own that, do your own thing, and you got it. And that's been more so my journey right now.
And one of your most recent challenges is actually a world record. Do you want to talk a little more about that? That is insane.
Yes, absolutely. So that journey kind of all came about from my nephew. He's been battling cancer now for 12 years. Big sports fan. He's 7 years old. I mean, not 7 years old. That makes no sense. He's 13 years old. And so that all came about because I was really inspired from him, and just knowing that, like, hey, life is too short to take really anything for granted. And I looked at previous world record holders for this journey, and they're all men, which is great. But I was kind of like, well, why can't a female do this? Like, come on. So I talked to my management and was like, hey, this is something that I'm gonna do it, like, no matter what. Luckily, I was able to get some sponsorship. It was at the very end. I got sponsorship probably 2 weeks before I started the journey. So yeah, like, I was set to take off and just go ahead and go for it, even if I didn't have sponsorship. But it was a huge journey. I did 32 NFL home games in 73 days, which was a lot, because geographically it wasn't all set in one spot. It was set all throughout the US. I was traveling from West Coast to East Coast to West Coast. And so a lot of different time changes. But it was really a journey that, honestly, I needed for myself, and also for my family. At every single game, I collected items, and I was able to give all those items to my nephew, which was really, really cool, because basically the whole reason why I did it is so that he could be able to experience all the games, even though he can't go because he has chemo, and he can't be around people because his immune system's really low. So he was still able to experience the games with me, which was really, really special.
Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. What was the feeling like of the last game when you officially broke the record?
Yeah. I think, honestly, I was just so exhausted that I was like, wow, this is it. This is, like, crazy that it's actually the last game. But I was, at that point, I think, just mentally and physically, I was so drained that I feel like it was super exciting, but my mind really couldn't wrap my head around it for so long. Even after the fact, I went on like a 2 week or like a month vacation kind of from social media. I was still kind of posting, but I wasn't really regular on it, just because my whole life was like post for so long, that it just kind of got really, really draining. But it was really exciting at the end for sure. It just took me a while to collect and be like, wow, I really did that. And I missed it. Like after everything, I really missed it all. I was like, wow, I wish the journey was still going on because it was so fun.
And I love how active you were on social media with it and how much you really, it was almost like you were able to live through you with what you're doing. But Lucy, I feel like social media, watching your videos, you're able to live through the moments in football, especially for me, because I don't watch a lot of football on TV. I know everything that is happening and you convey it so well. How did you get your start and how did you get to the place that you are now?
Oh God, how did I get my start? Well, I would say that started when I was actually in middle school. I was playing middle school field hockey and I got benched 7th grade and said, okay, you know what? I understand where my athletic career is going and this is it. This is the peak for me. And so I knew that I really love sports. My dad was a University of Iowa alum, and it was like, honestly, not okay for him to make me watch Iowa football as much as he did. But it was like Saturdays, I wasn't allowed to have plans. I had to watch, college football. So I knew that that was what I wanted to, be a part of. So I literally, like in high school, like started working for my local newspapers. I went to journalism camp. I had a really hard time making friends. I wonder why, but went to journalism camp, like did all the nerdy stuff. So then when I went to University of Iowa, I started studying journalism. And I was actually pretty dang good at it. I'm not going to lie. And then about halfway through, I was like, you know what? I'm good at it. I like to do it, but this is not my strength. I got super, super lucky and I actually got dumped. And I was writing my little show that I normally like. I just like a stupid little recap show. And I say stupid because it was stupid. And I got dumped. So I was so angry when I wrote it that I wrote it like super funny. And I like read that back. I was like, that's hilarious. And then started doing it that way. And I started getting traction, very little traction. Like TikTok was still like Musically at the time. I don't even know what that was. So I was doing this all for like 1,000 views on Twitter, which was crazy now because I would get like 3,000 views on a video and like walk around and be like, does everybody recognize me? Oh my God, is somebody gonna ask me for an autograph today? But I started just making those like funny, like kind of Katie Nolan, like SNL Weekend Update type videos. Really sort of like got my lane there. And then COVID hit. I was a 2020 grad and like it worked out for me in the long run because I was like interviewing with like local TV stations because I did a lot of local news while I was in school and I didn't get any of those jobs. And then lucky enough, Wave Sports and Entertainment, Jukes was the first company I worked for. They found my videos on TikTok because I didn't have anywhere to post them during the pandemic. So I just put them all there. And then they were like, you know what? We're going to pay you to do this. And I was like, shut up, for real? And so then they moved me out to LA. And since then, I've just kind of tried to continue to like define what my voice is and what my lane is. Because I kind of think that's probably the most important thing you can do is just figuring out, where you fit in, what your niche is. I think my niche is dumb and I like it.
I love your niche. And Lacey, did you have the same type of process?
Yeah, I'd say my process was a little different. So as I mentioned previously, I was an athlete. And then after college, I went into the corporate world. So I actually worked at Nike headquarters. And that was a lot of fun, Nike headquarters, their campus is beautiful. However, during COVID, I was laid off. With 5,000 people, it happens during COVID. A lot of people's jobs were affected. And then I kind of decided, you know what? I am actually going to just do what I want to do, follow my dreams. So I started posting videos on TikTok. And then from there, I kind of was able to build a stream, but it really that took a while. Like I probably didn't build that much of a following. I think for a year I had like 18,000 followers. So it was a long journey. I was working 3 part-time jobs because my parents were like, what are you doing? Like, come on, you had a good corporate job. Like, go ahead, do the typical 9 to 5. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, I mean, I was an Instacart person. I coached soccer. I was a dog watcher, like in any random job you can think of that was really relevant during COVID. I did it. I did it. So that was a journey itself, but definitely it was all just like constantly posting videos and things like that. And that's kind of how I was found. And then I was found by an agency, and just kind of went on that route. I really haven't had a specific company, I would say, that's really tied down to me. I think that kind of with my journey, I'm kind of trying to stay as independent as I can. Now if something comes along that's right and that's perfect for kind of what I want to do, then yeah, by all means sign me up. But yeah, that was a little bit of my journey.
I love it. It's so cool to see and hear everybody's unique journeys, especially in this space, because I mean, we all talk about sports, but I feel like everybody's journey is kind of different. But I'm very curious to know what your creative process is like before you make either a TikTok or something to go on Instagram from start to finish. How does it go?
Yeah, yeah. So kind of what I do is I do a lot of research, and then I kind of come up with different stories built on the research. And I think that a lot of things that I like to look at would be stuff that I could kind of change in a way, or stuff that I could hopefully I like to focus on two different categories. I like to focus on humor, and then I like to focus on emotion. So either a lot of my pieces, you'll see like emotional kind of stories, and you'll also see kind of like humorous or funny. But yeah, so I gather all the research I can do from that, and then I kind of just write it out in my own way, kind of what I want to say. And then I work on just filing all the photos, and then I post it. I mean, I don't post it, but then I create the video and then I edit, and then I post it. That's kind of my journey.
Lucy, is yours the same?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I would say most of my stuff, it honestly starts off as like a goof a bit. So I'll just hear something stupid that happens. And then what's my stupid response to that? And then I really just build around it. Like I kind of I find something I think is ridiculous and then I make it more ridiculous. So for example, I'm big in college football. The Pac-12 can't get anybody to buy their media rights. So they're like talking to networks like the CW, where Gossip Girl is, because that always makes me think of college football. So I took that and then created a list of other networks they should go to and just progressively made it more ridiculous. So I'll get the one joke that pops up and then I'll brainstorm the rest, and I physically write it down. Typing doesn't work. I got to physically write it down, film it immediately because I'm not a patient person, and then just post it. Like Lacey does such an amazing job. Her videos are edited so well and they always look so nice. I wish I had that, that not even like patience, but just like willingness to do it. I don't. I want it to look like I filmed this in my basement. I want it to look so just like crazy, not good. And so that's usually how it happens. And then a lot of the time I'll get an idea in the middle of the night, write it down, wake up the next day, read my notes, and be like, that doesn't make any sense. And then try to figure out what that was. So that's my creative process.
I love it. It's almost two polar opposites, but it goes with your niches so well and like your presence on the platforms that you have. But another question to go with that, I mean, I only talk about women's sports, and I know that almost every video I post, there's going to be some type of hate. And that's just me covering female athletes. As a woman covering male athletes, do you experience the same?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I consider myself lucky, which is not lucky. But I've been doing this since college. I had my first viral video when I was like a senior in college, and it had like 100,000 views on Twitter. And I think Twitter has honestly the most hate on it out of any of the apps that I've worked with. And I made a video about Mark D'Antonio, the Michigan State coach, because I didn't personally like him, and I thought he was kind of a shady dude. And I said that, maybe not as delicately as I just did. And that fan base ripped me a new one. I thought they were going to kill me. They didn't. Positives. But it was so tough. I had no idea how to deal with it. And I like consider myself lucky that that happened to me so early. Because of that, I know how to handle it now. It does not bother me. It does not get to me. Honestly, in a weird way, I kind of enjoy it, which I know is kind of messed up. And that's probably a therapist conversation, maybe not a hero conversation, but yeah. Moral of the story, yeah. Yeah. People don't like us sometimes.
That's so crazy because I'm actually the same. And my first experience was with Ronaldo and that fan base. And that was very early on. It was traumatizing when it happened. I was like, whoa, what the heck? But now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful because I know all about it. I know what's coming. And now I feed into it, which is, I find it fun. Other people might not. But yeah, Lacey, what is your experience like?
Yeah, very, very similar to Lucy's, not the same kind of story whatsoever, but yeah, people are brutal out there. It's every single day. And people go as far as to DM you just to like let you know, it's like, yeah, I saw your comment, but and I will say comments on Instagram are even worse than they are on TikTok. I don't know what it is, but there's something about Instagram comments that are brutal. Like people have no filter whatsoever. I remember when I was doing the tour, my videos on Instagram were doing significantly better than they were on TikTok. And the comments is pretty much, I think, the reason why they were doing well were the hateful comments. And it wasn't just men, it was also women. In fact, I've had quite a few women that have sent a lot of hate my way. So it's like you get both all the time. And I think that as a female, you just have to learn that, like, hey, what you're doing is great. And I've been fortunate enough to be have the confidence that I know that what I'm doing does inspire some people. But you're going to find people that are just hateful necessarily because they're jealous. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way it goes. It's a sad world. And I wish it wasn't like that. But for some reason out there, it is. And I don't really necessarily know why. But yeah, I'd say that a lot of it was even when I was recording videos at stadiums, I didn't have anyone to help me. It was just me, myself, and I. So it's like, well, how am I gonna do this journey if I'm not recording myself? But I would have so many people, the hateful stuff by men, by women. And the way that I looked at it is if people are saying hateful stuff, it keeps me relevant. So carry on. That's the way I look at it.
That's a huge thing with engagement too, because like the more comments you get, the more people that are going to see your video. So, I mean, even though it's hate, it might not be that much of a bad thing, and it could land you an opportunity. Like I feel like every time I have a video do really good numbers, then I get a new opportunity. And you both have had some incredible ones. Is there any that sticks out as like your most memorable so far that you've gotten through social media?
I have a really good relationship with Meta, which developed through, my Instagram. And that's been really awesome because that's where I got to go to the women's final four, where I saw you. And I got super lucky that, my alma mater was playing there, my national champions, as far as anybody's concerned. So I would say that opportunity, my first job was amazing to get the chance to, move to LA and work at such a wonderful company. I would say, like, honestly, the greatest opportunity that I got out of social media, and it's not like a big one, but it's just such a special moment to me, was in college, my senior year, where I finally started to take off a little bit. I started to develop a really wonderful relationship with just like the community in Iowa City. And I got to do my own mini version of what Lacey did, but significantly less cool and significantly more drunk. I did I just sent out a tweet and I asked fans to send me their tailgate. I got invited to like 50 plus tailgates, and I got to just meet all these cool people. And it was just a really special moment to me from what I remember.
There was one day we were in the lobby of the hotel and Lucy was like, we're going to a tailgate. It's this. It's going to be all Iowa fans. And it was just like all over social media. I didn't end up going, but it was wild. Looked like a wild time. Iowa fans love you too. It's like you're a celebrity.
Most of them, not all of most of them.
It's such, I don't know. It's really cool to see from my perspective because even at the tailgate, it's all them like huddling around you. It's like, it's really cool. But Lacey, do you have a memorable experience?
Yes, I apologize. A roommate was playing really loud music and I was like, okay. But yeah, kind of, I would say I have a couple, but probably my favorite would be I had an opportunity with Sports Illustrated at the Super Bowl. And so I was able to interview a lot of current athletes, football players, as well as former Hall of Famers. And it was just a really surreal experience because they were sit down interviews. I was up at like 4 a.m. and getting my hair and makeup done, which was like crazy. And then I would interview them and I would get done at the day at like 1 a.m. and then repeat it the whole entire week. So it was a long journey and it was super exciting. I loved every single second of it. But it's crazy because all of that came about from social media. Like I didn't even know, back in 2020 that that's possible. So yeah, cool opportunities come our way, which is really, really neat.
Yeah, and as a woman in sports, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like everybody gets it, but there's always people asking for advice, and especially other women who are maybe in university or even high school, and they're like, I want to be doing something like this. What's one piece of advice that you would give to either somebody younger, the next generation, even somebody maybe older who just wants to get into the space?
Yeah. I would say, first off, don't care about what people think. Don't care about your followers. Don't no, care about your followers, but don't care about your following. Gosh, I worded that really long. Really weird. Sorry. Yeah, care about your followers, please do, because they're the reasons you're getting where you're at. But don't care about like the number of followers you have. Because if you stay true to who you are and if you're authentic, people will follow you and people will find a reason to enjoy your presence. And I'd say like being authentic is probably the hugest thing you can do. And even like commit to it completely. Don't just like go in and be like, well, this is temporary, like let's see. Like if it's something you want to do, like put yourself completely in there, and don't give up because it'll pay off in the end.
I don't think I'm qualified to give advice, but I'll do my best. I think the best advice I can give is comparison is the thief of joy. I think I saw that on a fortune cookie once. I look at what you two do, and you are both so unbelievably talented and have created this just amazing following of yourself. And I admire and respect it so much, but I can't compare myself to you because things you do, I cannot do. Like that's simple. It's just not in my repertoire. And you probably can't take shots with Iowa fans the way I can. And it's nothing against you, but it's one of those things where like you're in this industry and automatically as a woman, you're put up and you will be compared to people. It's just going to happen. I will get comments on my video and it'll be like, what about Lacey did this? Okay, well, go like that. Great. Okay. And so it's one of those things where I just like, people will compare you. You have to make sure you don't do it. Don't look at somebody else's following. Don't look at the opportunities someone else gets and be like, oh, I didn't get that. I didn't do that. There are so many things that you don't see behind the scenes that lead into that. There are so many things that like you were better off doing. So just like try to like stay in your lane, but be supportive of the people around you because you can achieve that. They're both possible.
I absolutely love that. And I think it's so important, especially as a woman in this space. I mean, I go on TikTok and I might be a little biased because I feel like I follow more women in sport, but a lot of men show up on my page and I feel like they have a completely different experience than we do. And especially, I mean, I have an experience in women's sports. I don't know if it's would be a little bit comparable or not comparable in men's sports. Do you really have to think about how you structure your videos?
I used to be very like, ooh, if I say this, I might upset somebody, or if I do this, I'm gonna, whatever. But Lacey, hit on it so perfectly just now, or like people can spot inauthenticity just like that. They can tell if you're not being genuine. And genuinely, I don't care if I make a man mad. Honestly, it's probably a bad day if I didn't make a man mad. So I used to really be smart about it. Now, obviously, I'm not going out here trying to offend people. That's not my goal, but I'm also not going to bite my tongue about things.
Yeah, I'd say similar to Lucy. I'd say that there's not necessarily that I care how I word things, but more so I feel like as a woman, you have to make sure that you know twice as much as a man on a topic, because here comes all the questions, all the comments. That's like, come on, it's so that part is a little frustrating. And I used to like sit down and research something so intensely. Now I just don't have time for that, so it's like, hey, I'll get my little 2 cents on this, but I'm not gonna deep dive into it. So hopefully you like it, hopefully you don't. But I used to, and I think that that kind of like deals with more so me having more confidence and me having just being more authentic to who I am. But yeah, at the beginning, I definitely cared more and structured my stuff more so in a way that could be more traditional and things like that. Now I don't necessarily do that.
I think even set up, and I went through that as well. Like at the beginning, I really tried to just have everything be perfect. And then I was like, I mean, who cares? Like the same information is going out. And as long as it's like clear and people know what you're talking about, then it really doesn't matter, especially on an app like TikTok and really any other social media. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me.